Said it already? Tzaddik. Why? About it. What's the Scheiner? So come visit, no? Tomorrow I'm taking her to the doctor. Tomorrow lunchtime she's not there. Baruch Hashem. I told the Goita that I want to wheel my mother. I told the Goita I want to wheel my mother wheel her into the dining room. So she says, you don't have to do it. I said, don't you understand? For a mother to have her son wheel, it's her covet. So I want to show her respect. So she sees people that Achbadin, my mama, I'm taking. It's unbelievable. In Fountain View. Last week in the Zera Shimshon, I didn't say all the things it said, but he filled you in. Yeah, I had Zera Shimshon, Siyata Deshmaya. Do you know about this book, Zera Shimshon? Okay. For those of you who are joining us, you want to sit over here? Come sit over here. Zera Shimshon, he wrote a sefer, 2 svarim. Zera Shimshon, Toldos Shimshon. The Zera Shimshon lived about 300 years ago. He had one son who passed away in his lifetime. And then he was left childless. And he said, all I have is my Torah. So what I'm going to do, he said he's going to give the Torah as his Yerusha, as a Yerusha to Bnei Yisrael, as an inheritance. If you learn my Torah, it's called Zera Shimshon and Toldos Shimshon. You are my child. And whatever a father does for his kid, I'm going to do for you. So I go to bat for you in heaven. 2 weeks ago, I saw Zera Shimshon Siyata Deshmaya here from this Shiur. Be able to get my mother into a facility. Mamish, it was only the Zera Shimshon that got her in. Mamish. I spread the story over last week. Not going to repeat it. Go back to last week's Shiur. I'll tell it over to you afterwards. But the Zera Shimshon has been there. My daughter got engaged on his yard site a few years ago. So the Zera Shimshon, the next one also has to get engaged. Beis Hashem. But the fact that he has really shown Mamish that he's like our tati. Tonight's Shiur also, we're 1 week away from the Chaim HaKadish's yard site. That's going to be next Thursday night. So we're going to have to do a little bit of a double header. Right? Next Thursday night. When is it? It's Monsey Shabbos? Okay, it's the Chazich. I have an Chaim over here. It's Tes Zayin. I thought it was your Tes. Okay, thank you for... Okay, so we're going to certainly do something for our Chaim HaKadosh today. Okay, gentlemen. This tonight's Shiur is Leila Nishma Sarah Bas Yisachar Berish, whose yard site was, Yud Aleph Tammuz. Parshas Balak. If you'd like to look along in a sefer, we're going to do letter Vav, which is on page Reish Lamed Ches. Parshas Balak, page Reish Lamed Ches. As an introduction to Parshas Balak, there is no other parsha in the Torah like this parsha. There is no other parsha. Every other parsha is Vayidaber Hashem el Moshe Leimer. Hashem speaks to Moshe and says, whatever you should tell Bnei Yisrael. This parsha begins with talking about what's happening behind enemy lines. If you want a modern day example, it's like if we had a interview of what's going on by the Palestinians and Hezbollah, of how they're planning against us. That's what this parsha is. This parsha is all about Bilam, Balak, our enemies, and the type of warfare it is. It's not conventional warfare. He's not coming to shoot with bullets. It's cursing. It's like a cyber warfare. That's it's all a different type of milchama. It's a different type of war. What do we see in this week's parsha, and what's the lesson? The lesson is how much HaKadosh Baruch Hu loves the Jewish people. The fact, as we're going to learn tonight in this piece of Zera Shimshon, that the Rebbeinu Shalom is not willing to hear anything bad about his kinderlach. Somebody once told me, Derech Agav, if your parents are Hungarian, Hungarians never say anything bad about their kids. Will zugen etwas, you want to say something bad about my kids? I'm not listening. My kids are the schönste and the beste. They're the nice, it gives the kids confidence. It's supposed to be that way. As a parent, you're not supposed to tell your kids off. Make them feel good about themselves, just to give them confidence.
Also, if you talk about your kids, people will hear, and people are not going to remember who spoke about them so good, but they'll remember all the good things that.
That's also true. That's also true.
That's Hungarian.
I know that my mother's my biggest fan, Baruch Hashem. Meine Kinder, the schönste and the beste. The best. The best. In this week's Parsha, the Rebbeinu Shalom is not willing to hear anything negative about Klal Yisrael. And as much as Bilam tries to curse Bnei Yisrael, he is totally not successful. So what we learn from this Parsha is how good and connected we really are. This is meant to show how be'emes, Klal Yisrael is so beloved in the eyes of Hashem. And even when we mess up, it's nishka nafkamina, don't worry about it. Let's now let's learn a little bit of the sugya. Ki meirosh tzurim areno ubagoyim lo yischashev. Let's take a look at the parsha for a minute and see the background. So Balak hires Bilam to curse the Yidden. Balak is told by Bilam, build mizbechas, build some altars, bring karbanas, sheva karbanas, bring them, and then vayisay mashala vayomer. And he picks up and he begins to prophesize. Vayisay mashala vayomer min Aram yancheni Balak. From Aram Balak came Melech Moav. And he says, L'cha orali Yaakov, l'cha zoma Yisrael. Curse for me, Yaakov, and find anger in Klal Yisrael. Mo ekov. What should I curse? Loi kaba kel. Hashem is not masking to curse them. Mo ezoim. Where can I find anger? How can I evoke anger? Loi zom Hashem. Hashem is not ready to get angry. The Gemara says that every single day, Gemara and Brachas, every single day, HaKadosh Baruch Hu gets upset with the world for 1 second. Rega be'apoy, Chaim b'rtzoynoi. Says the Gemara, Re'u, Chazal say, the Navi says, during this whole time, I didn't even get angry once. Not a second. There was no, Bilam wanted to try to chop that second of anger and tried to curse Klal Yisrael that moment. Kadosh Baruch Hu says, I'm not getting upset. Bilam tries and sees, segeit nicht. It's not working. It's not working. Ki meirosh tzurim, from the tops of their tzurim, from their tzur means their bedrock, erena, migvaois, and from their givois, ashurena. Now, Klal Yisrael, the avos and the imois are known as horim and gavois. Says the Zera Shimshon, Yesh ledaktik, mahu mirosh tzurim. What does he mean by mirosh tzurim? Mahu erenu va'ashirenu. Umau, and then the pasuk says, Hein am levodod yishkan. They rest by themselves, bagoim lo yischashev, and they're not part of the rest of the nation. What's going on? Uma kefal. The kosav akli yokar. The kosav akli yokar ala pasuk vayomol es bnei Yisrael. Klal Yisrael, when they left Mitzrayim, had to have a bris milah before they went in order to eat the carbon Pesach. But for 40 years in the desert, they didn't have a bris milah. They didn't have a bris milah because it was a mokam sakona. Baderach, they were not given a bris. When they came to Eretz Yisrael, Yoshua then gave a bris. Now watch what it says. Vayomol es b'nei Yisrael, and then it says v'shuv moles b'nei Yisrael. Chazal ask, and Rashi brings down, what do you mean v'shuv? If they had a bris milah, what do they need another? One pshat is the people who were in Eretz Yisrael, people in Mitzrayim had a bris milah, the people in the desert didn't. And another pshat was that after, besides for the bris milah, there's also priya. Priya means pulling back some of that foreskin. You cut off whatever there is, whatever gets cut off, and then you pull back and reveal the atara, reveal the crown. Bisoid hamila liyos perua legamri. The Kli Yakar says that there's a secret in the mitzvah of milah that's 2 stages. There's the chaticha of cutting off, that was given to Avram Avinu. However, there is another part, which was the priya, and that was given only later to Yehoshua. Says the Zera Shimshon, it's quoting now the Kli Yakar. V'uremez legilui oira yizbarach el amay vel chasidav. Priya is the next step, and it's the next level of a complete kesher of HaKadosh Baruch Hu's hashpah to Klal Yisrael, to his righteous. V'lo yitochain b'yimei ha'avos. And it was not yet possible in the early days of the avos to even give them the opportunity to do Priya. Why not? Ki adayin koyach haklipa shel priya mechasa or hamila, because the koyach hara had not yet been totally subjugated, not yet been totally wiped out. Shekei nischayev bavoin adam arishon lahashet hara latoiv. The sin of Adam brought the evil onto man completely. V'kesheba Avram hischil ataken mashakilkol adam arishon kenoida. As you're probably aware, Avram, we're going to discuss it in a minute, he began fixing up humanity. He began fixing the sin of Adam Arishon. V'chein Yitzchak, v'chein Yaakov. V'achar kach nichnesu b'neiim b'kor habarzo b'Mitzrayim. That's also part of the tikkun, going to Mitzrayim. V'oid holchu b'midbar, they went into the midbar, nochash, sora, v'akrov, a place of scorpions, a place of nechashim, of snakes, a place of animals that kill. Kidei, you know why they were there? Lahachlish koicham. The clouds and Klal Yisrael were there to overwhelm and take away the koyach hara. V'letaken hakoil, to fix it all up. Ve'achar gemar hatikun nichnetz le'eretz hakedosha. And then they came to Eretz. I'm going to still read and then we'll explain. V'amrinon beperek chesti v'amis loy nitna priyas milo lavram avinu. The Gemara over there says it was not given that mitzvah. V'atam lefi sha'adayin loy gomar letaken pagam odem arishon v'loy hoya biyodoy legarish haklipa mekol v'chol. Avram single-handedly could not yet push aside the koiches hara v'lechein loy nizgala or yud shel apriya. Avo kishenichnesu la'oretz ekar nigmar atikun. At that time, v'lo hoya oid nochash sora v'akrav oz hu eis lechol chayfetz nitla mitzvahs priya shakedusha shorsa ba'oretz v'lo hoya oid pachad ma'klipa ki garshu oisa. Klal Yisrael was not zoicha to, was not zoicha completely to the mitzvah of Milah and to do the tikkun that Milah had until they came to Eretz Yisrael as a nation. Psh, what's going on? Vosidos.
Weren't they all given by ourselves? All the mitzvahs were given by ourselves.
Oh, Tosfos asked that kasha. Tosfos frecked their kasha. Tosfos asked that kasha. Yes. Rabbi Dahan, yes. Yishmael did not have, right? That's the Zera Kodesh discusses that at the end of Parshas, Va'era discusses that. right? And he explains that the reason that Yishmael does not have a shaykhus to Eretz Yisrael is because they don't do bris mila kiti kuna, because they don't do it correctly. And when we got, that's correct, because they don't do the priya. And when we got to Eretz Yisrael, then we got the complete mitzvah. Lomermat, let's explain. There's a lot of things that need to be explained. Let's start. Kanireh was not. That's right, because if they weren't given the mitzvah, it wasn't ma'akev. That's right. So like this, Lomer learn in the sugya. Let's learn the sugya. I'm sorry? They did it themselves. Right, so Avad is not ma'akev. If it's not given, it's not ma'akev. Once it's given, it's ma'akev. The sugya is as follows. Let's learn the sugya. A little bit of a few, let's go back to Aleph Beis. We started talking about it last week as well. Lamer up learn an Aleph Beis, a little bit. Pshat Zazoy. When HaKadosh Baruch Hu put Adam into Gan Eden, when he placed him in Gan Eden, he was placed there without the need. He wasn't given a whole book of mitzvahs to do. He was not told you have to do this mitzvah, that mitzvah, the other mitzvah. He was not given any of those mitzvahs. Why? Because when HaKadosh Baruch Hu makes something, he makes it perfect. Adam HaRishon had the perfect balance between guf and neshama. Adam HaRishon did not have an orla either. Chazal say, it's brought down in Avis Reb Nosson, but Ki B'Tselem Adam HaRishon, when he was created, he did not have the orla. Ki B'Tselem Elokim Asa Esa Adam. HaKadosh Baruch Hu created a person B'Tselem Elokim, in that image of God, which means to say that his neshama was so connected to his guf that as long as he wouldn't mess up, then he could stay and move from the Gan of Eden, the Garden of Eden, into Eden. V'nahar yoitza me'Eden, lahashkis es hagan. The Gan is a garden outside. The word Eden, which sounds like us like a garden, really is the word Idun, or which is bliss. Ma'adanim. So it was a garden outside of a place known as Eden. And Adam HaRishon should have moved up into the world, going higher. How? When that Nachash, when that snake came to entice Chava and him, had he been able to push back and say, no, I'm not listening to you, he would have been attacking the neshama with the guf. The guf is not and does not come from the same place that the neshama comes from. Rashi in Chumash says that the guf comes from the ground. The Torah Gdosha says the neshama comes from Shamayim. When HaKadosh Baruch Hu created the world, each day, one day was Shamayim, one day was Oretz. The first day there was nothing created specific, it was Or. So there was no Shamayim, no Oretz. But day number 2, there was a firmament put in between, Shamayim. Day number 3, the Oretz. Day number 4, the luminaries. Day number 5, the animals. 2 against 2. What's going to be on day 6? Is it going to be another day of heaven? There's going to be an imbalance of 3-2. Is it going to be a day of earth? It's going to be 3-2 for the earth. HaKadosh Baruch Hu had to make something that balanced out the Bria. You know what that is? The Tzuras Adam. It's a connection of heaven and earth together. Vayitzo Hashem Elokim es Adam ofra min ha'adama vayipach ba'apav nishmas Chaim. Together they're fused together. Together they're fused together, and now Adam HaRishon is perfectly balanced to be able to do his job. What is his job? Don't mess up. Don't mess up. La'avdo l'shamra. Be careful, es nicht, eat from whatever you want, that's a mitzvah. Just don't eat from the Eitz Hadas, don't listen to the Nachash. As we mentioned last week, I think it was, Vateira ha'isha, and the woman saw ki taiva le'enayim, v'toiva eitz lemachal. Is she out of her mind? The tree looks good. The tree looks good. The Rebbeinu Shalom said you're not allowed to eat it. How are you looking at this tree? Sheker. That sheker, it's not good to eat. She had already been contaminated by the nachash. We pushed this, she listened to him. And by listening to him, she was influenced by him. And by being influenced by him, she already started listening and believing like him. Yes, what do you want to ask?
Isn't everything that we're supposed to do is like, oh, I want to eat non-kosher, but I'm not going to do it for Hashem.
Avada. But to say that the tree is good, that's
good.
Because Hashem said it's not good.
A cheeseburger could also be good.
It's right, but Hashem says so. So first of all,
Hashem said it was good?
Hashem did not say it was good. Hashem did not say, and when you say that it's good, that means that your body is. I'm so happy you're asking this question. When you say that it's good, does your neshama also say that it's good? Let's think about that for a second.
You're saying that's enough for me
That's right. When the body and the neshama are in sync with each other, then the body wants to do what the neshama wants. It doesn't have an identity on its own. When Moshe Rabbeinu goes up to Shamayim, what's that with?
Russ and Nami. Russ's body was hunger.
When it happens with every person, Balt, we're going to get there. I'm going to get there, lat. You're saying good. We'll get there slowly. I'm getting there. When Adam Harishon is created and his guf and his neshama are in sync with each other, the guf, if it's where the neshama is, meaning it's in the same page as the neshama, doesn't want to see this as being good. He sees it the way his neshama sees it, which is the neshama, Rabbi Isai, the neshama comes from where? From Hashem. It's a neshima, it's the breath of Hashem. The neshama wants what's good. Ritzoineinu lasois ritzoinecha. Deep inside by a yid, the rotzen is to do only what Hashem wants. That's what a Jew wants to do deep down. The problem that happened with Adam and Chava was that they developed a new reality, like a split personality. The part of them wanted to do what Hashem wanted, and part of them now wanted to do what the Nachash had convinced them was good. Now they already had like a dimyon. A dimyon means to say they were fantasizing. It wasn't reality. If HaKadosh Baruch Hu says this is not good, so then now all of a sudden, now thanks to the Nachash, the Rambam writes, when HaKadosh Baruch Hu created a person, he created us with the koyach of seichel. Seichel is very logical, and the koyach of dimyon, of imagination. Okay? The dimyon of a person is needed because soiv, when the Navi would see a vision, you can't see Hashem, le'yirani odom b'chai, so it was the koyach hadimyon of a person that allows a person to have a shaykhis to things that are above and beyond his limitations. That's the koyach hadimyon. But it's supposed to be a function of the seichel. It's supposed to be a function of the seichel. What the Nachash did to poison humanity was make the dimyon, the fantasy, like a reality. Look, it looks good. It really looks good. That cheeseburger really looks good. Your neshama says the cheeseburger looks good. Your neshama doesn't say it looks good. But there's a conscious sense, a self of a person that sees something desirable and says, but I want it. Who's that I? Is that I the neshama or is that I someone else? When Adam was created, there was no other I. There was only one I. Voster bein Yishaylam vil. But once Chava listened to the Nachash, there were two eyes. And when you have two eyes, is ay. It's already nishgut. That's already too many eyes. I want this, and I want that, and I want this. What do you want already? Rebbeinu Shalayla. I don't know what I want, because part of me doesn't want to eat, and part of me wants to eat. That separation and eventually eating from the Eitz Hadas Tov Ra is what is called Misa. When the neshama and the guf are connected, then they are eternal. When the neshama and the guf are separate, that's what death is according to Judaism. What's that? Husband. Well, the point of what happened was, what happened was that by Adam and Chava eating from the Eitz Hadas Tov Ra, what they did was create a reality of desire, of a metzias outside of their neshama, because the body did what the neshama didn't want to do, and that's what death is. Death is the separation between the guf and the neshama. What happens when a person's nifter? The neshama leaves. The body's left alone. Who separated the neshama from the guf? Chava did. Adam did. They did it themselves. When HaKadosh Baruch Hu says the day you eat of the Eitz Hadas, you're going to die, it's not going to punish you. You're going to do something that you yourself is a state of reality. The reality is your neshama and your guf are no longer connected to each other. Bout. So when that happened, the Chazal say that Adam, it was still in the 7 days of creation. Right. It was day number 6 of creation. The world wasn't finished being created. So the kilkul, the destruction, that's like chas v'shalom, when a woman's expecting a child and then she eats something or does things that are detrimental to the fetus, that can create long-term effects, because while the baby's still in her body and she takes things which is not good, God forbid, chas v'shalom, it can terribly damage the baby. If during the days of creation it's still the Shivas Yemei B'ria, and Adam and Chava both already brought the Nachash into themselves, they destroyed humanity. They brought death to the world, and they brought badness, and the body of the human being, of the man, changed. And the physical change was an orla. The orla, the foreskin. That's what changed. When Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov came to the world, kol echad ve'echad, individually and collectively, each of them, their goal in life was to rectify the sin of Adam Arishon, to reestablish a proper balance between neshama and guf. When Avram Avinu gets a name change from Avram to Avraham, which is 248, which is exactly the number of mitzvahs asay that a person is supposed to do, 248. That means that his guf is in sync with his neshama. That means that the guf and the neshama are back in sync with each other. We have the beginning of a new creation of Adam. Now, that was stage number 1. As Chazal say, it was no coincidence that his older child was Yishmael, because he had been born from the contamination of mankind. That had to come out in order for him to have a Yitzchak. It was no coincidence that Esav is the older brother over Yaakov, because he had to come out in order for the pure Yaakov to come. There was a filter that's happening. Mitzad Yemin u'mitzad Smoil. Chesed Ra and Gevura Ra. Yaakov Avinu can come out, which Chazal say, to Mustiyuknoi Shel Yaakov. Yaakov Avinu looks like Adam Harishon. Says the Ari HaKadosh, you know which Adam Harishon? Adam Harishon Koidem HaChet. Adam Harishon Koidem HaChet. He looks like the Adam Harishon before sin. His face is on the kisak of the Malach Elokim Oilim v'Yardim Boy. They would look down, they went down the ladder, they saw a face on the floor. When Yaakov Avinu was sleeping with the 12 stones, looked up and they saw a face on the kisak Kovet. Wow, said the Malachim, it's the Zelba upon him, it's the same Scheiner upon him, it's the same person. Yaakov Avinu so perfected himself that Chazal say Yaakov Avinu, him and his children have a kesher of loy mace. Loy mace. Loy mace means we're not going to die. And the bris milah that represented the tzuras ha'adam hamitukan, the correct tzuras ha'adam, was now given to humanity, to Bnei Yisrael. It was given to Bnei Yisrael. Now, Yaakov, and that's what Kimei Roish, as the Zera Shimshon and the Chaim HaKadosh say, Kimei Roish Tzurim Erena. I want to try to curse them. Says the Chaim HaKadosh, and this is all connected. Says the Chaim HaKadosh, you know what it means to curse? To curse means to say, to find where the pegam is in Shamayim, so that it can, the midas hadin, so that the judgment can punish them. Says the Chaim HaKadosh, I'm looking, ki meirosh tzurim arena. I'm looking to see in the Shirish where Klal Yisrael did something wrong, so I can give a curse. I don't find anything. There's nothing there. The Avos HaKadoshim did such an amazing job that there's no evil in Shamayim. I tell you what that means. Gemara and Baba Basu, you may have just learned it in Daf Yomi. The Gemara says, Shloisha Kadosh Baruch Hu gave them Olam Haba in Olam Hazeh. Avram, Yitzchak, v'Yakov. Shenemar, Bakol, Mikol, Kol. Shloisha, Lo Shalat Behem Yetzer Hara. The Yetzer Hara had no power over them. Who were they? Avram, Yitzchak, v'Yakov. Bakol, Mikol, Kol. You know what that means? The Yetzer Hara, where is he over there? The Yetzer Hara says, yo, maybe you want to have something which is not kosher. No, yeah, no vacancy. Yeah, no vacancy. Avram, Yitzchak, v'Yakov. The cheeseburger, it doesn't look good. My neshama doesn't like it, and my body's in sync with my neshama. What? That's what they fused again and again and again. 3 times. Chut ha-meshulish loy b'meheira yenotek. Rabbi say, you want to know what happened then? After Yaakov Avinu, on the shoulders of his parents, his father and his grandfather, every time a child was born from Yaakov Avinu, there became a partnership. There became a shutfis. You know what a shutfis means? A partner. You know what happened? The Avos were so kadosh, and there was no Yetzer Hara. I want you to listen with both ears. I'll say as much as I can. The chibur of the husband and the wife was so pure that Hashem says, I'm going to put my neshama into these little children. Do you understand? A Moshe Rabbeinu with a neshama like Moshe Rabbeinu is born in this world through a father and a mother, right? Who's a shutif and who's putting in the neshama into such a person? Hashem. If it wouldn't have been what the Avos HaKadoshim did to be mitayr themselves, that there's no Yetzer Hara in them, there wouldn't be a Jewish nation. Yisrael, Yaakov Avinu, whose name is Yisrael, who overcame the angel, that the angel said, Ki sarisa im elekim vatuchal. Says the Chaim HaKadosh, the word mo ekov lekava kale. The name Kale is so pure, it's so pure that Yaakov, I'm going to name you Yisrael Yashar Kale. And all of your kinderlach are going to be known as Bnei Yisrael. So you can have a child of a Yid that's born, that can reach madregas of Ruach HaKodesh, can reach the madregas of purity, of saintlyhood, because of what Kimei Roish Tsurim Erena, of what the Avos HaKadoshim purified. They purified, that means being given the bris milah means that when they were creating kids, it wasn't Yetzer Hara. You know what Yaakov Avinu says to Lavan? Haveli ishti va'avay eleha. Bring me my wife so I can be with her. Azoy retman sama shver. That's the way you. That's the way you talk. Asks Rashi, "Kal shebekalamein medabim hachi." Even the most. That's what you say. Right? That's what you say. Says Rashi, Ela lahakim zera niskaven. He just wanted to have kids. So my Rebbe Zichron Levracha says, okay, so you want to have kids, but speak like a mensch. What's the? He says, no, you didn't get it. Lahakim zera niskaven. All he wanted to do was bring kids. There was nothing else. It wasn't dirty. It was pure. It was lahakim zera. Yaakov Avinu, because of that, brought down zera kodesh. And every single Jew, even if you're an Eisvarf, even if no matter how contaminated we are with the Tumah, when we have Kinderlach, there's Zera Kodesh. And that's what Bilam was miskala in this week's Parsha. Kimei Roish Tzurim Erena. They are so pure in Shamayim, I can't touch them. Because b'shayurosham, they bring down, they're connected to their Rebbeinu Shalom in such a profound way, like Adam Harishon Koidem Achet. These three, Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, were successful in reconnecting the neshama back to the guf, that they brought back Adam Harishon in Gan Eden. They went back to so much so the Gemara says they already started having Olam Haba in Olam Hazeh. Adam Arishon, he ate from the Eitz Hadas. He shouldn't have died. He should have gone straight to Gan Eden, to Eden, and it should have been Olam Haba. But he went backwards. They kicked him out and they buried him in the ground. Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, they're already living in this world and already they're having a taste of Olam Haba in Olam Hazeh. They're mechaber the worlds. You know why? Because they're bringing back the Tzuras Olam. You also do that. Every Shabbos is Me'ein Olam Haba. We already have such a shaykhs because we're Bnei Yisrael. This is the ultimate tikkun. Now, Shteit Zera Shimshon, until we didn't come to Eretz Yisrael, to Eretz HaKadoshah, we didn't have the complete tikkun. We had to go to Mitzrayim. He mentions that because all of the sins of the neshamas, these neshamas of Adam, the neshamas of Klal Yisrael, it's too much to go into now. It came back once, twice, three times. Dora Mabel, Dora Paloga. We've talked about it. Kayadua. It came back. Da Anshe Stoim. Each time, instead of fixing, making it worse, until they had to go to Kura Barzil. And once they did that, it was done. And you know where they went to next? They went to get the luchais. They got the luchais. Everybody who had any type of problem, a difficulty, blind, this problem, that problem, perfect. Their goofs were back to the neshama. No ailments. No deaf, no blind, no this, no that. Nisrapu, big goof. Why? They were connected to the neshama. Then came Chet HaEgel. Shavasa B'Tamas. Came Chet HaEgel. Chet HaEgel. Chet HaEgel, we're kemat wiped out. But the Rebbeinu Shalom didn't do it. Rebbeinu Shalom didn't do it, gave us a Yom Kippur. We had a second chance. We had a second chance. When they went back to Eretz Yisrael, and now they got Limakaimim. And by the way, had they not made that mistake with Chet HaEgel, they would have taken the Luchais 11 days later on Chodesh Av, they would have been in Eretz Yisrael already. They would have been misakin everything. You know what they had to do? They didn't make it in, they sinned, they stayed in the desert for 40 years. Says the Zera Shimshon, lahachlish koyach of nachash sorah va'akrav. All of the koyches of evil, the nachash, where in the desert where the nachash lives, they pulled, they were there, so whatever their tikkun needed to happen, there they were in not home territory. They were on the road, like when you go lahavdil on a road trip, and you got to go to enemy territory. They spent 40 years in enemy territory, lahakish koicham, and then they came to Eretz Yisrael. Once Klal Yisrael was brought to Eretz Yisrael, we say in the pasuk, by Bechukoisai, v'zacharti es brisi Yaakov, v'es brisi Yitzchak, v'es brisi Avram Eskar, v'ha'oretz Eskar. Those are the four backwards, but they're the four levels of the Merkava. V'ha'oretz Eskar. When Klal Yisrael came, v'zacharti es brisi Yaakov, v'es brisi Yitzchak, right? V'es brisi Yaakov, right? Eskar v'ha'oretz. When Klal Yisrael had those brisim, and then they came to Eretz Yisrael, Yeshua gave them the final tikkun of bris milah, tzuras ha'adam, in the right place. And then we got back to who we were. This is the difference between us and Goyim. Zera Shimshon finishes off by saying, even if a Jew for some reason can't have a bris milah, because of medical reasons, he's already called a mulim. He already has a goy who has a bris milah, akum, have a bris milah, is an udel. A goy who doesn't, a yid who doesn't have a bris milah. I had a story this week. I just have to share the story and finish this off. For those of you who learn Baba Basra, if you learn Daf Yomi, the Gemara makes a difference between chesed that Jews do and chesed that Goyim do. So I learned that Gemara, chesed leumim chatos. The chesed of a goy is my mother was in LA for the last many, many years. There were two people who were very involved in helping. One was a Yid named Matis. He would come by to visit my mother, bring her food on Erev Shabbos. Whenever something was done, he was always there. And there was a doctor across the street who helped out, took her to the doctor. If she needed, met me at the doctor. This week, the doctor sends me a bill of a few $1,000s. All the chesed, will geld. Will geld. Will geld. I called up Matz. I said, Matz, you know, you've done so much for me. He said, ich will garnished. I don't want anything. I'm happy to do the mitzvah. Difference between an udel and a mol. The difference between what person whose neshama is connected to your conscious self. Ich habe es gesehen, I saw it with my eigene Augen. I saw it with my own eyes. I heard it with my own ears. I'm going to give him. Because I can't make a chil. Hashem, you have to. Gesundheit, no problem. Aber Rabbi Sai, the connection of the neshama to the guf, what the Avos HaKadoshim did for us, which is connect us, that we're connected in the highest places. Do you know when this was niskala? From our enemies. That's what Parshas Bilam is all about. To show how beloved we are in the eyes of the Beis, how pure we are. We don't even realize how pure we are. Our enemies, they had to tell it to us. Our enemies, they had to be the ones who tried to curse us. That's what Parshas Bilam, that's what this is doing here. It's not from a Ben Yisrael, but it's all about Bnei Yisrael. And it's about how connected we are to the Rebbeinu Shem. Rebbeinu Shem will help from Be'ezus Hashem. It should become revealed, v'ro kol ha'amim, and everyone should see Kishem Hashem Nikra Alecha v'Yoru Mimeka. How we're connected to the Rebbeinu Shalom.
The word Nachash,
Yes.
minus the 40 years of Tikkun, equals Shin to Shabbos, Chaim.
Adonai Chavetz Matzah Gagdil Taravi Adir. Yeah.